I believe that an institutional strategy can be very effective and impactful. I think having a strategy in the first instance is a visible signal to everyone that teaching and learning is important. But if that strategy has been developed by a single person in a room and it hasn't involved consultation with all of faculty, with all of the staff, then there's no ownership for it. And I think an effective strategy has that consultation and is owned by the institution who together are going to drive it forward. I also think that a strategy is no good if it doesn't have an implementation plan associated with it. And the implementation plan has to have clear timelines, it has to have clear review points, and most of all, it has to have resources allocated to it. Only then is it actually going to happen.
We need to acknowledge good practices in teaching, and we need to make use of those who are interested to develop them even further on. We need the cooperation at the institutional level, so we need to look at different careers paths. I'm always a little bit worried when you talk about you can have a teaching-only position and a research-only position. Some universities have developed in that way, and that's because of the power issue. So now you have research is seen as more important, and the powerful people do the research and the rest does the teaching. And that's not the message that we want to come through. And if we are going to combine research and teaching, which is the point of having research in universities, I think you need to have both. At my university, the leadership is very dedicated to quality teaching, and they are equally figuring out ways of how we can promote that. We have workshops and courses from my center. We have a teaching fund where you can apply both for money for innovation, but also this is the recent development. You can actually apply to get some time off from teaching, though, not research, but from teaching to develop your courses. You need to have the leadership really on board. So you have to make sure that the leaders of the university really are dedicated and believe that teaching is important. And you need to have some kind of a cultural change, which is a tough way to do it. You don't need to do large changes, big changes, but you need to have many people on board doing small things. Many academics are interested in teaching. They want to do a good job. So if you can find a hero, somebody who has done something, who is one of your colleagues, and you get that person to present and discuss what they did, you need to have these forums where you can talk about your teaching, where you can share ideas. You need to have more structure. You need to have some initiative, and so people are willing to do some changes and are supported in doing changes.
As institutions of higher education, we intensely value evidence-based in research, and we don't seem to have the same requirements in the teaching level. And there is now quite a wealth of evidence building up in the pedagogic literature and in the kind of work that the EUA is doing and other places. And so I think if we're really institutions that value evidence, then embedding that somehow in our procedures at an institutional level. So in other words, requiring that our teaching is evidence-based, I think is a really important starting point, because then you can start asking the question to individuals, to schools and departments, to faculties, show us how you are basing what you do on evidence, because otherwise that's not what we should be doing.
About strategies, it is important to understand that development of the strategy and implementation of the strategy should not just be something like coming from top to down, but it should be the process that will involve those who will be later on involved in implementation of the strategy. The ones who are even at the implementation of the tasks will be acknowledged enough and feeling ownership enough to implement that strategy.